All right, welcome to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Python Skills series. In this video, we're going to pick up from where we left off with functions, and we're going to talk about custom functions, meaning we're going to be able to make our own functions. All right, so let's get started. Class is now in session. All right, so in the previous video, we learned about the custom functions, and so there are a number of them out there. Print was just one that we learned about. I believe we did round. What was the other one? I think we did. Anyway, this is len is one as well. And there are a number of custom function out there. Now we're going to actually make our own. Okay. So the first thing we need to do when we make a function is we need to define a function. Okay. So that means we need to define it and then we need to call it. And we're going to do those two things now. So we're going to do the def keyword, and I'm going to give this function a name. Okay, so then we're going to do our opening and closing parentheses. I'm going to do a colon, and then I'm going to create this very simple function. This is inside of the function. I'm going to go print hello world. All right, now let me explain what's happening here. The def keyword simply means that we're defining our own function. This is the function name, and you can give it any name that you want. We'll talk more about names, but just like variables, when you name a function, you want it to have a meaningful name so you know exactly what it does. In this case, I'm just using my function because it's, we're just demonstrating, so it doesn't really matter here, but I want to point that out. And then we have our opening and closing parentheses, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, and we have to put a colon. Now, the thing about Python is you have to indent. It's very specific. If you do not indent, you will have a problem. So I'm going to indent. So this is considered to be inside of the function. Now, in order for my function to work, I need to call it. Now, if I click run and you look at the output, nothing happens here. Okay. So in order for this to work, we need to call it. So I'm going to call it now, and you simply do this. And we've been calling functions the whole time, and we're going to say my function. So you just write my function with the opening and closing parentheses, and now we're going to get what we wanted, which should be hello world. Okay, so that is a very simple function. All right, so we have called the function. We got our results. I just want to point out a couple things. I'm going to copy and paste some more things in here. All right. So everything that's inside here is inside of the functions. And in many programs, in many code editors, you will have something that can collapse and expand the code. So when you have a function, you can just fold it and unfold. They're calling it fold and unfold, but other programs it may be expand and contract. And so this is inside of the function. So when I run this again, it's going to do everything in here. Okay. This is not a very useful function. We're going to get into some more useful functions, but I just want to explain the dynamics of a function. So we just created a function, our own custom function. And here we defined the function. And down here, we called the function. Okay. So defining and calling are two different things. When we define it, we're just going to make up the function itself. And then when we call it, we're going to actually activate it. So imagine a tool chest where we have several different functions or several different tools. And we only use those tools when we need them. All right. Now, the one thing I do need to cover is I want to cover a concept called, let me add this to this, global and local. Okay. Specifically global and local variables. All right, so variables. Okay, so we want to cover global and local variables. So let's get rid of this and define. That should be defined. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this too, just to clear this up a little bit. All right, so let me define and this again, this is going to be bad programming, but I want to demonstrate a point. So I'm going to say x is equal to 10. Okay, so I declared and assigned a value, and then let's say I'm going to say print x. All right, so let's run this function. So what we have here is we have a variable and we have a print function that we're going to run here. So let me stop it and let's clear it. Stop and clear, and then let's run it. And you notice we get 10. So there's no big thing here. We're just printing out the value of the variable. Now, let's say I'd said x is equal to 20. So in this case, we're going to print out the value of x, but which value is it going to be? Is it going to be this value or is it going to be this value? Well, let's see. Okay, so if you notice, it prints out 20. Okay, now let's do another experiment. It prints out the value. So you may be asking, well, maybe it just changed the value, but let's see. Okay, so if we were going to do this, let's say, let's run it after the function. Actually, we'll do it before and after. Let's just do a print x. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've assigned a value. We have a function definition, and we won't worry about that now. We're going to print the value of x. We're going to run the function, which is going to print the value of x here, and then we're going to print it again. All right, so let's see what happens here, and let's follow what happened. Okay, so line 9 gives us the value of x, which is 10, and then line 10 will give us this value of x, which is 20. So that goes to show you that the x is now 20, but it's the x inside of here. And then if I print x here, it prints out 10. So that just goes to show you that the value of x is native to this function and not this. Okay, so basically what this is describing, and again, this is terrible programming because I wouldn't want anybody to describe your variables like this, but this is an example of global and local. Okay, so let me put this here. So global means that this variable is accessible inside of any function or any a loop or anything like that. It's accessible everywhere. This one here is actually a local function. Okay, so we call this local, and this is just a thing to be aware of, that when you have certain variables and you're not getting the results that you want, just make sure that they're either global or they're local, and you actually want them to do what you want them to do. Okay, so in this case we have a global variable which is accessible here, and that's why because this is local, that's why we get this value of 10 here. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here, and we're going to pick up in the next video where we'll talk about arguments versus parameters.